Why Human Ghosts Are Peaceful, written by Mahajapajit Akwebus. Ghosts, spirits, revenants, whatever you name them, everyone agrees that they can certainly be troubling. It is just in their nature as a soul, as a remnant of a being with grievances unsolved. I, Kasar Kulula, as an expert on the undeath, have personally seen many cases. From peaceful hauntings to violent poltergeists. From the fighting spirit of the Itlaxkamni warrior to an unstopping manifestation of the Matayan scientist. I've seen it all. Yet there is nothing more enigmatic than the spirit of a human. Humans themselves are very fascinating. At least I find them to be. They are what I usually describe as revanchists. They are not afraid to retaliate, to strike back. Their thirst for revenge is common knowledge within the galactic society. Once you mistreat a human, it doesn't matter if it is minor or severe. They will remember. They will never forget. Once a human has a gripe with you, their mind will never stop thinking about how to best you. They'll have pretend debates while they clean themselves and create elaborate plans to come back at you. They don't even care if these actions hurt themselves more than you. For example, if you ever pranked a human coworker, you probably have or will face a prank war. I have my experiences with it. You never win unless you are also a human, which never ends. But I'm not here to talk about human revanchism. For that, you should see our local library for myriads of books talking about said subject. I'm here to elaborate on a simple fact about humans, on why human ghosts are so pacifistic. You see, violent revenants tend to appear from sapient beings that engage in revanchist behaviors. While they can spawn from merciful species, this tends to be rare. One theory says that species that practice revenge tend to be more volatile, which also causes their remnants to be aggressive. Another stated that the spirits of the revanchist species become ferocious as a way to lash out at the very environs they die in. Regardless, the humans, the most revanchist sapients known, seem to forget the existence of this pattern. Their ghosts can be described as meek, pacifistic, pathetic even. They are just so forgettable that the humans largely did not believe in their existence of ghosts until their ascendance to the galactic community, whereupon they learned that other sapients had to deal with them regularly. But why? Why do they have a problem with this? I am fortunate enough to learn the answer to this question, as I was lead expert for the Yachthon Motel incident. The Yachthon Motel incident, as the name implies, happened in Yachthon Motel, a guest house on the planet Corrigian, Guy-Watched Federation. At the time, the motel was occupied by a Chromion attempted murderer, who died in an altercation with a victim. Most of the motel was peaceful enough to be operational. However, the room formerly rented by the murderer was deemed unsafe. A human leased the same room. The human was a young adult thrill seeker. He wanted to stay in the inhabited room to experience its hauntings. Even though the motel management refused his requests multiple times, he was insistent. The human threatened to review bomb the motel if not given the room, and so the management gave up and allowed the human to rent the room. Within a night of stay, to borrow the Terran phrase, the human fucked around and found out. When the motel staff checked the human's room the day after, they discovered, to their unsurprise, his body limp and cold. Based on the autopsy report, the cause of death seemed to be forced asphyxiation, with the human neck decorated with bruise marks. As a ghost was the main suspect, I was immediately assigned to the murder case. With that, I donned my special gear and immediately, at least if you don't count the time spent on paperwork, traveled to the murder scene. The police were waiting for me outside the murder room, as they lacked the specialty to handle hostile haunting. However, as I went inside the room, it felt empty. There were no spikes in temperature, there were no background noises, there was nothing to indicate there was a ghost. Thus, I asked the motel management if they were sure of the existence of the murderous spirit in that room. They were adamant, and even showed me some older recordings from a Spectra camera. After learning about the Spectra camera, I asked if they had it installed in the human's room. They said yes, and even included it in the clause for his stay. However, they did not have access to its recent recordings to ensure the guests' privacy, unless, of course, an official like me required them in extraordinary circumstances. And so I asked them to provide me with access to the recordings. Some motel staff and I went to the security room, where they maintained their monitoring systems. As we opened the footage, it was like nothing I had ever seen. It started like any other ghost recording, the lights flickering on and off repeatedly. Furniture was floating around as if moved by the winds. The camera even recorded the Cromagnon ghost shrieking as she yelled in her tongue, "Leave me be." The human seemed to be unbothered. He seemed entertained by the spectacles of the haunting. He did not attempt to leave the room and kept lying there, recording with his phone, occasionally saying, "Wow," and expressing his excitement with vulgar sentences. The human acted as if he were watching a show. This was a grave mistake. The Cromagnon ghost was offended by the human's behavior. She became bloodthirsty. Her apparition suddenly appeared, weighing down the human. The Cromagnon's forearms gripped his neck, choking him. The human's eyes went wide, perhaps just realizing his error. Too little, too late. Then finally, his body went lifeless. But afterwards, I saw the unthinkable, the release of the human spirit. The recording went bright, very bright. The camera was shaking uncontrollably until the spirit of the human appeared. His spirit was red, the reddest I had ever seen. His hair was blazing like fire. I could feel his anger even from the recording. It was terrifying. "You took my life from me," he shouted in standard Terran. "You have taken from me the world where I would have loved, where I would have lived to the fullest. For that, you shall suffer." Then the camera recorded what I would describe as the first ever footage of ghosts brawling. The human spirit lunged and repeatedly punched its murderer. His hands then went ablaze and were pressed against its face of the Cromagnon ghost. The Cromagnon could only do nothing but howl in agony, which was extremely unnerving to hear. She let out an unsettling shriek until, finally, her spirit dissipated. After seeing his foe annihilated, the human's wrath calmed, turning translucent white. He slowly dissipated after finishing his grudge, and the spectral camera stopped recording any signs of hauntings. While this assured me that I did not have to deal with a violent human ghost, the implications were much more worrying. The sightings of human spirits suffer from survivorship bias. They do have violent ghosts. In Terra, they just don't last very long. End of story. Story number 2, The Thumping, written by Majestic Teach 6677. It was a nightmare scenario, the worst fear of our science fiction writers come true. Only days after our first FTL test flight, and something appeared at the edge of our system. One moment, space was empty. The next, there was a flash of light, and something was there. It was massive, twice the size of our planet's moon, but oval instead of round, impossibly smooth, and only a few shades lighter than deep space behind it. Unnaturally fast, at nearly 200 light minutes per hour. We estimated it would reach our planet in just under 5 hours. Then it started. A constant rhythmic thumping. It would go on for a bit, stop for a few moments, then start again at a slightly different pace. We didn't know what it was, except that the signal came from the unknown object approaching our planet. There should have been some sort of Doppler effect. Yet, no matter where you were in the entire system, it sounded the same. The technology to accomplish such a feat was incomprehensible. Always in the band of 20 to 50 hertz, a rumble you could hear and feel, shaking walls and barking out a constant warning of impending destruction. Our leaders were panicking. Only 50 years previously, we had decided to forego weapons and find peace together, looking to the stars with hope and excitement. All weapons development ceased in favor of producing non-lethal means for dealing with criminals or those who posed a danger to themselves. Even if we had the old bunkers full of illegal weapons to tear open, we doubted we had ever created anything which could scratch the surface of this behemoth. Across the lands, people who had sworn off religion joined the faithful to head to temples and pray to the 7 faiths for forgiveness and deliverance. And then It was here, only kilometers above us, choosing to park itself on the dark side of the planet. Time was up. We detected thousands of things detaching from the oval and begin to descend into our atmosphere. Like true demons from the fourth square of dark fate, they were launching their attack into the night, rather than give us the respect to face us in the daylight. Suddenly, all our communications were overwhelmed by a new signal. The face of our conqueror appeared on every vid screen, on the voice of every radio and wireless device. Somehow spoke in our language. We saw the thing in profile first. It had a skin of light brown and some sort of black fur on its head. Some of the hair on the side of its head was pulled back and held in place by a small clip to create a demonic horn with bright blue fur at the tip. A vaguely oval head with a triangular protrusion just below what was likely the optical receptor of some sort. We couldn't tell what the body looked like, as we only could see the head. What we're on, some sort of opening on the lower part of the head with bright red paint on it, opened up and contorted into an unnatural manner that in no way matched the words of our language that we heard. And then the thumping stopped. The ships above our planet burst into light. Lasers of all colors exploded and bathed our planet in unholy light. A shrill electronic noise called out a strange melody in a high octave, which shifted to a lower octave, then back to the higher. The thumping returned, rattling every door, window, and vehicle across the entire planet. Then the thing on the screen turned to face us. "Boo-hoo! Hello, Gralia!" the thing screamed out, perfectly pronouncing our planet's name. It looked directly at us all through the vidscreens, with a slower facial opening parting wide to reveal ghastly white teeth and fleshy pink thing waggling along inside. We now know that the hideous orifice was its mouth. Two round orbs stared at us, one on each side of its face above the triangular protrusion. Each orb was white on the outside, brown circle just a few shades darker than its skin within, and then obsidian dots in the center of the brown circles. It had not only one, but two tufts of fur held back into demonic horns. The one on the left was blue we originally saw, and the one on the right bright pink. "We're the Intergalactic Party Bust. I'm your host, Trixia, a human from the fun little place called Sol. We're here to throw up for you the best damn party you've ever experienced. Free drinks, free dancing, and free designated drivers to get you all home safely. Plus a fully stocked medbay or 3 in case you have a little too much fun. It's a little way of saying welcome to the rest of the galaxy. Don't be shy, just jump on one of our complimentary shuttles that'll be arriving soon in a city or town near you." The screen suddenly changed, showing some sort of rectangular yellow thing with what might be windows on the side. Perhaps another starship. We couldn't tell. There was no sense of scale. "Have some little ones? Don't worry. The Kinderbus, with our team of certified babysitters and daycare center professionals, will be here tomorrow. They just stopped off at the last nebula to restock animal crackers." The image flipped back to Trixia, who looked out at us with its mouth curved upwards, but opened just enough for us to see their teeth before speaking again. "And don't worry, we've been booked for the next Galactic Standard month, so everyone will have a chance to partay." Meanwhile, at the Galactic Council Command Center, "Working humans, we're already getting noise complaints from the Draxons."
"Sir, should we send some patrol?"
"No, we're still trying to clear out a glitter from the last time they did this, and they sent over what they call party pooper surprises when we intervened. Just notify Galactic Aid to dispatch relief ships stocked with every known hangover cure or noise dampeners to create quiet zones, and remind them that some humans consider booze an appropriate hangover cure, so they better stock up on everything else."
"Yes, sir. What should we tell the Council diplomatic team on their way there?"
"Arrive drunk and ready to party."
End our story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.